everyone. Welcome to the PD on Lesson Planning and Delivery, presented by yours truly, Christian B. Lott. Again, I am Christian B. Lott, currently serving as a new teacher support coordinator within the Beginning Teacher Development and Support Department. My journey in the field of education spans more than 11 years, during which the time I cultivated a deep-seated passion for coaching and providing support to fellow educators. Now let's get into lesson planning. What exactly is lesson planning? It is the process of preparing a detailed outline of a lesson before it is taught. It includes identifying the learning objectives, selecting appropriate activities and materials, and organizing the lesson into logical sequences. What exactly are the benefits of having a lesson plan? It can provide guidance to teachers. It can clarify the learning objectives for teachers. It improves the quality of lessons. It enables the visualization of the entire teaching process, and it overall makes learning easier for students. So, what are the parts of an effective lesson planning? So, this is a disclaimer. These are some parts. So, this is not the end all be all. These are just some parts that I wanted to just focus in on. So, the state standards. Teaching to the state standards is key because your students' standardized tests will be coming from the state. Lesson objective. Each lesson should have a learning goal that can be characterized as SMART, specific, measurable, results-oriented, and time-bound. The essential questions are open-ended and don't have a single final and correct answer. These questions are thought-provoking and intellectually engaging. They also promote discussion and debate. Differentiation. Instruction is the process of tailoring lessons to meet each student's individual interests, needs, and strengths. And then we're going to talk about the I do, we do, and you do in the next slide. So something we call is the gradual release of responsibility, also known as the I do, we do, and you do. Is a teaching strategy that includes demonstration, prompt, and practice. Essentially, the teacher starts the lesson off with all the responsibility, but through the I do, we do, and you do, they gradually release the responsibility so that by the end of the lesson, the student has most of the responsibility, if not all. Okay, so now what I would like for you all to do is take a moment to scan the QR code or type the bit.ly below so that you can get an idea of some lesson plan templates so that if you're interested, you can use when you're creating your lesson plan. I'm going to give you a moment to do that. All right. Hopefully you have scanned the QR code or have had a moment to type the bit.ly and you can see the type of lesson plans that we offer. Okay, before we conclude, let's talk about some strategies and tips for effective lesson planning. The first thing you should do is to know your students, know your audience. You should know if you have a kinesthetic learner, if you have an auditory learner, if you have a visual learner. Based on knowing your students, then you can curate your lesson plan, i.e., and your lessons to meet the needs of your students and your learners. Also, you should use free resources. There are so many resources out there that is based on your content, based on the needs of your learners that you don't have to pay for anything or create anything. There are resources out there that once you get these resources, you can edit them to meet the needs of your learners. You should also focus on the power standards. There are so many standards out there and there's limited time. So if you focus on those power standards, you can get more bang for your buck. Remain flexible and adapt. In this world of teaching, things will happen that you don't anticipate. So if you remain flexible and adapt, that will lessen the stress that you will put on yourself and then as a result put on your students. I totally recommend this next one, which is collaboratively plan. You should have some type of professional learning community called a PLC, which is individuals that teach the same content or somewhat of the same content where you all can plan together to create your lesson plans. Typically, how I used to do things would like one person would take Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We would take a day and be responsible for that day. And just because you have that day does not mean you got off easy. That means you have to really focus in on that day, make that day perfect with all the components that your administration requires, and make that day perfect. So just because you don't have to do all 5 days, that means that one day has to be very, very good and intentional. So collaborative planning allows you not to be solely responsible for the whole week, but to be intentional on that day if you all choose to divide it up that way. Use technology. We are in a technology era. And if the pandemic hasn't shown us anything, it showed us that we can use technology and our students can use technology. But that should be the only thing that we focus on. But technology works if we use it correctly and use it intentionally. Real world application is key as well. If we focus on how this can work in the real world that we live in, it will be beneficial in our lesson planning. And this goes back to our free resources. Do not reinvent the wheel. There are so many resources that align to our standards, that align to our content, that we don't have to go out here and reinvent all these resources or all these lesson plans. So use what's already out there. And another thing is do not procrastinate. Do not wait until the last minute to get your lesson planning done because that will cause you to stress and worry. So please be on top of your lesson plans and be intentional about when you get these lesson plans done because that will allow you to do the last thing that we're going to talk about is to not stress. Do what you can do and don't stress about it because stressing causes unnecessary things that happen to you because stress can affect you mentally, physically, and we don't need that to happen. So, again, do not stress. If you take on these strategies and the tips that we just talked about, you will be fine. We just did a visual graphic and, that was shared last month. So, please use those as well to help you. And I really hope that this PD as well as these tips were very, very helpful. And I hope the template is something that you will use for your upcoming year. And I thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to us at the BT Development email. And be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms. We are on TikTok, we are on Instagram, we are on Twitter, and be sure to go to our website as we share so much on our website. Thank you so much. And Christian B. Lot is out. Have a great day.